No interview taking place between McCarthy and the Chicago Bears. What does it actually mean? Ian Rapoport from the NFL Network joining us on the D&M Leasing Hotline on the home of the boys, 105.3 The Fan. Good morning, sir. Thank you for making some time. How are you?
My understanding is that I'm taking Meat Church's spot. Is that accurate?
Oh, no!
You are. You're taking Pittman's spot.
I mean, that is my guy. I'm telling you, man, all of my barbecuing and smoking expertise is basically stolen from that dude. He is literally the best. I know he's too big time for us right now, which is why he's not on, but I am just honored to be taking the spot of one of the true legends of the smoking and cooking world.
Wow. What are you cooking? You must be in a house then, because you can't have any Traeger grill on a balcony in New York, right?
Well, I'm in the suburbs, man. So I got a Traeger, and then I got a flat top griddle. We got all sorts of stuff out here, all of my rubs, all of my seasonings, all Meat Church. I have the whole collection.
Wow.
So that's my dude right there.
What's the Ian Rapoport grilling specialty? The final thing that you're smoking that you feel the best about?
I don't know if I'm more partial to any than another. I would say beef rib is probably my favorite just to eat. My favorite thing I've ever done is we turned a 22-pound Wagyu brisket into pastrami.
Oh, whoa!
Which was, a 2-week process, but just so good and amazing, just so fun. So that was probably our best accomplishment.
Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being Lincoln Riley and 10 being Meat Church. Where do you put yourself on the sliding scale of ability?
I'm like a 7 because I don't create anything. I just follow directions. So until you really can create, then you can get into that 8-9 range.
That's awesome. Ian Rapoport here on 105.3 The Fan. What did you think the Cowboys were going to do about the Bears interview? Were you surprised yesterday over this news, or were you expecting it, or you were totally 50-50?
No, I knew there was zero chance they would let him interview with the Bears. It's a solid ploy. I get it on both sides. For the Bears, you make a request, you try to kind of, throw a wrench at another person's situation. I think for McCarthy, it gives him, I guess, leverage. Not that he really needs the leverage. I knew there was zero chance. It's a thing, but it's not a real thing. I knew there was zero chance. Cowboys would let the Bears interview him, and then they deny it, obviously. And so, it's an exclusive negotiating window. I think the Cowboys take these things seriously, and I think they're going to use – I don't know if they're going to use all of it, but I think they're going to use a pretty good portion of it.
Well, let's go from 0 then to 100, because I believe that's near 100%, that the denial means near 100% chance that McCarthy returns here. Is that off? Is that view makes sense?
Well, I don't think the denial means that, because I don't think that's always been my thought. You know what I mean? The denial was always going to happen no matter what. And the Cowboys have, the way the Cowboys think, they have the right to talk to him. They're going to use that right. They're not going to just give up their exclusive negotiating window for nothing. So I knew there was no chance that anyone was going to get to interview him. But I'm with you, though. I would say, to me, judging from the comments from both sides, judging from the fact that the Cowboys have continued conversations with him, I believe he's back as well. But, how that actually happens is an interesting thing. If you're the Cowboys, what you'd like is the most flexibility. Obviously it's not going to be like this, but let's just say theoretically, best case, 1-year deal. Give them the option at the end of next year. That's not going to happen. Okay, what about 2 years? That's probably not going to happen either. All right. Well, then how many years are we talking? If you're McCarthy, you want the longest deal you can get because you want the most security. And you want, I would imagine Mike McCarthy does not want to go this again next year, where all anyone's talking about is his job status the whole year. So there's a middle ground in there. They just have to find it. But, yeah, I'm with you. I believe at the end of the day, McCarthy will be the Cowboys' head coach.
Ian, do you see this as a ploy for the Cowboys to drag this out? They've already removed the Bears. Maybe the Bears hire somebody and kind of force Mike into a low ball offer, incentive-based deal, kind of a take it or leave it because he has no other options.
No, because he's rich anyway. I think if that happened, you know what I mean? If he doesn't have to work again for the rest of his life. So I would say, if that happened, he would. I don't want to like speak for McCarthy, but there's nothing that would stop him from going like, all right, I'm good. Was a head coach for 2 places, went to the playoffs many times, won a Super Bowl. Like, I'm good. Like he's not someone who is like standing in food lines. Like, he doesn't need to work. So I don't think he's going to get forced into taking any bad deal that he's not comfortable with.
Do you think Mike? You mentioned Mike and leverage earlier. It's just a guess. So you're the professional at this in terms of knowing what other teams are thinking. Does Mike have other NFL leverage, you think?
Yeah, I do.
As a head
hire
coach?
for someone. As a head coach, yeah. I think he'd be a good hire for someone. What's so interesting to me is Sean Payton and Mike McCarthy have pretty similar records, background, pedigree, basically everything. Both have won a Super Bowl. Both have had quarterbacks, I'd say multiple quarterbacks now with Sean, where they've played the best of their career with them, right? I mean, Aaron Rodgers certainly did. Dak Prescott certainly did. For whatever reason, Mike McCarthy is sort of like, because probably he's in Dallas, he's sort of considered to be like, oh, well, I don't know if he'd get another chance. Like, he's a very good head coach, and I think if you gave, 28 teams, the option, absent the 4 who believe they're in the playoffs every year no matter what, they would say, oh, you have a coach who can get me to the playoffs? I would happily sign on for that. I think I would say this, like, if he was out there in really as a free agent now, like, let's say the Cowboys had fired him last year, I think he'd have a head coaching job in this cycle.
NFL Network insider Ian Rapoport joining us here on 105 to the Fan. You can see Ian on the Insiders weeknights at 6 p.m. on NFL Network. Ian, Jerry talked after the game about an incentive-based deal and, basically insinuated that he could have escalators or other things like, reward you and pay you more for as you go along. Is that something that's common in NFL head coaching contracts, or would that be something that would be pretty unique if Jerry tried to negotiate that here?
So it's common, but it's common as sort of the icing, not the cake, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, there are some contracts that have like, all right, if you make the playoffs, you get, I don't know, $500,000. You win, make the title game, you get another. You win the Super Bowl, you get $1 million, right? But that's not the base of the deal. Like, the base of the deal is like the $9 million base salary. So, like, yes, there are incentives, but if Jerry's talking about paying him $1 million and then, he gets another 7 or 8 if he makes the playoffs, like, I do not think that will fly.
Ian, we've speculated, I think, here in Dallas that a McCarthy return might be with the caveat of, all right, well, you're not going to have play calling duties when you return. We're going to have a different offensive coordinator in here to do that. Do you think that would be something that's part of the negotiation, or if Jerry's bringing back Mike, do you think he's saying, all right, do it your way, go out on your terms?
Well, so that's a good question. And just to be frank, I don't know the answer to that. Because what I don't know is, like, everyone sort of wants to be the play caller, right? Every head coach is like, well, I'm the guy who can get it done. I should be the play caller. Mm-hmm. But some decide after a while, like, this is actually not what's best for the team. Like Kevin Stefanski with the Browns, obviously they were terrible, but like at some point he was like, I'm spending all this time doing play calling. It is not working. The rest of the team is not benefiting at all. I'm going to stop being the play caller. And that's what happened, right? So I don't know what McCarthy wants to do. I know that. So I'm trying to remember. So this is second year as play caller, right?
Yes.
The first year. No,
yes, second year.
Second year, okay. Well, I think last year was pretty good. This year, obviously not as good, although honestly probably fine when Dak went out. I don't know that either of those things is the magic bullet, and I don't know. Like, if you're not the play caller, you can pay a lot more attention to other parts of the team, which is very good. But I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Ian Rapoport joins us here, 105 through the Fan. Is there a young, up-and-coming offensive mind, like the next McVay, Ben Johnson type thing that isn't a play caller, isn't a coordinator yet, that would be the guy to take that next leap?
As the offensive coordinator?
Sure, who are some hot OC names?
Yeah, I mean, part of the problem is we don't know them. Like, we meaning like national media or even like local media. We don't know them because right now the guys who have been offensive coordinators, like, okay, we all know them, right? But pass game coordinators for really good teams, like, just to be totally honest, like, those names are not out in the media. Those names are not out in the forefront. I mean, if there's some you've heard of beforehand, like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But this is sort of on coaches now to be like, who are the guys? And it's really, really hard because, Ben Johnson obviously has done an amazing job with the Lions. He was not Dan Campbell's first choice as offensive coordinator. He had him on his staff. I mean, it's like I remember when, Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator of the Titans, and he was so good, then he got a head coaching job, and he might get another head coaching job this year, and he also was not the first choice, right? They had to fire someone else, and then he became OC. So, like, it's really hard. It's hard for me to look at, like, who's the QB coaches, who are the receivers coaches, who are the pass game coordinators, and it's hard for coaches because, like, these are not guys that are in the forefront. You have to go find them.
Ian, if things were to fall through on the McCarthy negotiations, are there a couple candidates you think make sense here in Dallas that the Cowboys would reach out to?
I would say that's my main problem is, everyone talk about leverage. Like, look, a lot of people are going to want to be the Cowboys head coach. It's a lot. You have to deal with Jerry, which is, very good and challenging, talks a lot, wants to be involved a lot. It's certainly a challenge. You get to be, the most famous head coach in the NFL. You get to work with a really, really, really good roster, but it's a lot. So, I could look around the league, like, would Mike Vrabel be a good next coach of the Cowboys? Yeah, I think he would. Now, the interactions between him and Jerry would be interesting, but I think he'd be really good. Cliff Kingsbury would be another one. I mean, you talk about, like, Ben Johnson, like, this would be a lot for Ben Johnson. Fiery dude, but he's not the most out there guy. This would be, I don't know if this is the right place for him. So, like, Kellen Moore would be one that, Kellen Moore would be one that I would think of just because he's been there before. But, he's sort of more in the McCarthy world where, like, he could deal with some of this stuff, but he's not the most out there guy either. So it'd be an interesting fit. I don't know. Like, it's a different job. Like, finding a Cowboys coach is, like, really, really hard, which is why, in the end, I think you're right. I think they probably stick to what they have and know.
Ian, before we let you go and get back to smoking and grilling, of the other openings, which one are you like, all right, this is happening? Is it Vrabel with New England? Just with the different situations out there. We thought it was Ben Johnson, Chicago. What's your gut telling you, or your phone?
Yeah, I mean, I would say with Ben Johnson, I would say last year a lot of people thought that he was going to the Commanders, definitely done deal. And I don't know that he would have gotten that job anyway, and then he pulled out of that job, so it didn't matter. So, like, we'll see on Ben Johnson. He's very specific, and we'll see how he interviews. I mean, obviously we know how good of a coordinator he is.
Yeah.
We'll see how he interviews because that's, it is really not about being a good coordinator. It's really being about a leader.
Yep.
So, I think that's one thing. The Vrabel and the Patriots, to me, is probably the next thing. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but he's there tomorrow. They've completed their, outside interviews with 2 external candidates who are minorities. That means they legally can hire if they wanted to. They've requested Ben Johnson, and they're talking to Vrabel. So that's the whole interview list as of now. That, to me, looks like that's probably good. They're going to hire, but we'll see what happens.
We know you are slammed. Thank you so much. We know how in demand you are. Thanks for taking the time. You're awesome, man. We appreciate it, and we'll see you in New Orleans.
All right, look forward to it. Take care, guys.